With today being the first full day of pads for the Buffalo Bills, I wanted to take this opportunity to look back at what we've learned so far during this training camp. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to this training camp edition of Believers Talk, where we take a look at the 2020 Buffalo Bills training camp and let you guys know what exactly is going on, or at least to the best of my abilities. Guys, if you haven't already subscribed to Believers Talk, my name is Joe. Welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for continual Buffalo Bills and Buffalo sports news. After you hit that subscribe button, you want to make sure you hit that notification bell. YouTube will notify you when we put out new content. Also, while you're here, like this video and leave a comment. What are some things that you've heard about training camp? Obviously, things are a little bit different in 2020 than they are in normal circumstances. Normally, we have people on the ground, on the field, there in Buffalo or in Rochester or in St. John Fisher, wherever they are, to give us updates on training camp. Unfortunately, we really don't have that. Now, today at training camp, the media will be allowed on the field, but up until now, it's all been Zoom meetings and some interaction here and there, but not too much. So everything that we've learned, you kind of have to take a listen to what the Buffalo Bills staff is saying and see if you can't figure out some things from that, right? So on Friday, they had an interview with both defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier and offensive coordinator Brian Daboll. I'm going to get into what I learned and what I read into when hearing those comments. Also going to go over some other things that happened during training camp that we might have forgotten about, or just some good news overall. And we're going to start with some good news, guys. Most Bills fans know this by now, but early on in training camp, we found out that defensive tackle Ed Oliver his charges were dropped when it came to that incident down in Texas. Obviously, there are more things that have come from that situation, but one thing that we learned, according to Leslie Frazier, he was very impressed with the way Ed Oliver handled the situation. Apparently, Ed Oliver and Leslie Frazier had a conversation the moment things got out to the press and the moment the story broke. And Ed Oliver told his side of the story to Leslie Frazier. And obviously, the Buffalo Bills came out with a statement saying, listen, we're going to wait till the investigators, till the police do their due diligence. And it's a good thing they did, because it appears now that there's going to be no penalty from the NFL when it comes to Ed Oliver. It appears now that Ed Oliver was not in the wrong at all when it came to that situation down in Texas. Not sure exactly what happened, right? We were not in that situation, so really don't want to speak on it more than that. Here's what we know, however: the charges were dropped, and Ed Oliver looks like he'll be suiting up week 1 for our Buffalo Bills. So then we obviously move to the opt-out part of training camp, right? Obviously, Tre'Davious White was a huge scare factor for Buffalo Bills fans. Turned out to be nothing, as Tre'Davious White is still at training camp and has decided to play in the 2020 NFL season. The Buffalo Bills did have 2 guys who decided to opt out due to COVID-19 concerns. One, defensive tackle Star Latulippe. I have spoken in depth about that, and I've also spoken in depth about what that means for our defensive tackle position as a whole. And also EJ Gaines, cornerback, was more than likely going to compete for that slot cornerback position if he was going to have a chance to make this team. EJ Gaines, not too big of a factor here. Again, there's a chance he wouldn't make this team anyway. The one that really hurts might be Star Latulippe, clogging up the middle of that field right there. That might be something that's hard to replace. However, we still have good defensive tackles. We brought in 2 defensive tackles in Quentin Jefferson and Vernon Butler, who hopefully will be able to fill in that void. You get Ed Oliver, you get Harrison Phillips back, and there's plenty to go around at the defensive tackle position. Throughout training camp, the Buffalo Bills media has been able to meet with a few Buffalo Bills players. You're talking about Josh Norman, Devin Singletary, just to name 2 of some of the players that they have been able to meet with during this time. Again, everything's a little bit different, right? You got the Zoom meetings going on, the Zoom interviews going on, not so much person-to-person contact with these players and with these coaches that you are used to seeing in normal training camp situations. But we did hear from Josh Norman. One of the things I loved to hear from Josh Norman is how he felt about the Buffalo Bills. Again, talking about what the Buffalo Bills infrastructure of their team looked like when he first came into the league and what it looks like now and why he wanted to be a part of this team. I mean, talk about some good things coming down the pipeline for the Buffalo Bills, and Josh Norman wanted to be a part of that. He sees good leadership here, and that's a good sign when veteran players want to come to your team. That's a really good sign. You heard Devin Singletary talk about Zach Moss. Now, a lot of it might be lip service, but if he is correct about Zach Moss learning the playbook, if he's correct about Zach Moss really getting into shape, really getting ready for the push of the season, then I think we have a lot of things to look forward to when it comes to this running back room. Is Devin Singletary ready to carry the load? He says he is. Obviously, that's what he's going to say, but you have to ask yourself, is he ready, instead of getting 10 carries, to get 15 to 20 carries? Because this Bills offense is mostly a rushing offense. However, in a conversation with Brian Daboll this past Friday, he said that might change. On Friday, both Leslie Frazier and Brian Daboll met with the Buffalo Bills media, and one of the questions asked of Brian Daboll is, now with the addition of Stefon Diggs, are you going to throw the ball a little bit more? And listen, Brian Daboll, smart guy that he is, decided not really to tip his cap too much, pretty much just saying that this offense is going to run game by game, which is what they said last year. Each game might be a little bit different, but he does recognize the talent that this team now has at the wide receiver position, and recognizes that Josh Allen can throw the ball a mile. So he knows that if they want to go deep, if they want to try new things, they have the offensive skill set players to do just that. But he also knows come November, come December, in Buffalo, you're going to have to be able to run the ball, right? You have two great running backs in the backfield. You have a great quarterback who has great athletic ability and able to run the ball. He led the league in touchdowns by a quarterback last season, rushing touchdowns by a quarterback last season. And so Brian Daboll should plan to take advantage of that. However, like I said, he did recognize the talent that he is on the field, including tight end Dawson Knox, including wide receiver Cole Beasley. Another question that was brought up to offensive coordinator Brian Daboll is how they think the addition of Stefon Diggs will help Cole Beasley. Will Cole Beasley find more openings in the middle of the field now that Stefon Diggs is there? And listen, Brian Daboll says what we all say, and we all continue to say, no, it's not really going to help, because Cole Beasley was always good at finding the open spot in the field, right? This is not going to help Cole Beasley, because Cole Beasley has always been able to find that open spot on the field, has always been able to find an opening where Josh Allen or Dak Prescott, back when he played for the Cowboys, will be able to find him open if the need is there. So Stefon Diggs being there adds another outside threat, and Brian Daboll did make mention to that, adds another wide receiving threat as a whole. But as far as Cole Beasley finding openings in the middle of the field, that was Cole Beasley's specialty. We all know how well Cole Beasley has done in the past in doing that, so there's no reason to think that he won't do the same thing here coming up in 2020. So like I said, not only did the Buffalo Bills media interview Brian Daboll, they also interviewed Leslie Frazier, defensive coordinator, and now second to Coach McDermott as far as assistant head coach. So he got that promotion this offseason. And when talking to Coach Leslie Frazier, they asked him about the CB2 battle. And I think it's something very funny that was said here, something that if you're paying attention, you heard, and it kind of gave you an idea of where the Buffalo Bills stand at that CB2 position. Leslie Frazier talked about Josh Norman and how it's hard to replicate that experience, how it's hard to replicate that knowledge, how it's hard not to give Josh Norman an edge up in the cornerback battle. So when I hear that, I think that this Buffalo Bills team is going into the full padded practices thinking that Josh Norman is their number 2 corner. Now, Levi Wallace has worked hard for everything that he's achieved so far for the Buffalo Bills. No reason to think he won't continue to work hard, to work at his craft, and try to beat out Josh Norman. But at least for right now, after what we've heard, it sounds like Leslie Frazier and the Buffalo Bills are leaning towards Josh Norman as that CB2. Of course, it could all be a smokescreen, right? It could all be a smokescreen. So those are some of the things that have gone on during training camp. One other thing we obviously need to talk about that we've talked about at length in some other videos is, of course, the extensions that the Buffalo Bills made in training camp. Talk about the extension of Coach McDermott just last week, and also the extension of left tackle Deion Dawkins last week. Two big extensions, two big ways to start off training camp. Again, remember guys, padded training camp starts today. My last video, we went over the 10 players that the Buffalo Bills cannot afford, or at least afford to lose this season if they want to have success. And then again, we'll have videos to keep you up to date on what is going on in training camp. So make sure if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, guys, you hit that subscribe button for continual Buffalo Bills and Buffalo sports information. Less than 30 days away from the start of the regular season when we play the New Jersey Jets. So let's get it going. Let's get excited about the season. So again, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, like this video, and leave a comment. What have you heard from training camp so far that I didn't go over? Do you think that Josh Norman should be cornerback number 2 at the start of the NFL season? And leave any other comments you want down below. Again, guys, thank you for joining me. I always look forward to talking to you guys. Join me live on Thursdays every 9:30 as we do our live streams every Thursday 9:30. Make sure you join me for that. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.